a lot of people are really terrible at writing Superman because they don't know how to work with a character that powerful. But one example of a fairly good take was actually, and this is going to sound ridiculous, but hear me out. It was Batman and Superman versus Aliens and Predator.
I thought you were going to say Batman v Superman. I was going to put you even harder.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's a graphic novel, and it is literally what would happen if Batman and Superman had to deal with the aliens and the predators.
Hey guys, welcome to Third Person POV, a writing group podcast where we critique each other's work and share those discussions with you so you can get a behind the scenes look at how a writing group works. I am joined today by our resident writing expert and senior statesman, JC Bybee, who's written several novels, including a couple recent releases. Our illustrious producer, Tyler Hess, who is currently hard at work on a contemporary YA fantasy series, and Gray Alder, world-building wizard and author of an epic fantasy series currently in progress. I should also say honey-voiced narrator. And I'm Kim Reed. I'm an aspiring YA fantasy author and the token female on this podcast. So before we...
She said the thing.
Had to say it. Before we jump into critiques, let's just go around and say where we can find everyone. So, JC, let's start with you.
You can find me at jcbybee.com and on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram, Threads, and X.
Great. All right, Tyler, where can people find you?
Hess Tyler blog would be the best thing right now. I also have YouTube, which I'm planning on doing more with, like to follow JC's footsteps, but I haven't really done too much yet. But Hess Blog.
Perfect. And Gray, how about you?
You can find me atop your nearest birthday cake, wishing well, grayalderbooks.com, or any other place where dreams come true.
What? I don't understand.
It's okay. I'm creative. You don't have to understand me. It's art.
It's art.
It's art.
Like, is this like bursting out of a birthday cake? Like, is that?
No. Why does your mind always go there? Like, blowing out candles, making a wish.
Oh, that's
I would
funny.
say that I'm disappointed, but that would be a lie.
Well, you opened yourself up to
This is
another
what I
comment, which
expected.
I'm not going to make because it's more inappropriate than maybe I want to give. But
Put down the shovel.
people are thinking it. Oh, I broke
JC
JC.
finally died. Oh, no. We're down to 3.
His age caught up to him.
Gosh.
Anyway.
Yes, professional podcast, yes.
And also, you can find Kim at kim.joy.read on Instagram.
Correct.
Oh, boy.
Splendid.
Okay.
So I finally found a solution to my light leakage problem too, by the way. You can get blackout curtains that are on a flexible rail. I'm going to mount it and just be able to close my whole office off.
That's so nice.
Yeah.
Close yourself off from the light, JC. Embrace the
From his
darkness.
kids who are off of school now.
Yes, they are off of school.
Are they sound dampening curtains?
A little bit too.
Nice.
A little bit of that. Yeah.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. Anyway.
Well,
All right.
What are you doing today, guys?
I think we're starting with you, Tyler.
Yes.
Is that what we said?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
I was not playing around too much with Riverside and their stuff. Also, I don't know if we because it's off of our screen, off of our faces. I don't know if it's actually good enough. For the viewer. Maybe you're seeing a bunch of emojis go up right now, but maybe you're not.
or maybe you're only seeing them on Tyler's screen.
That would be interesting if it actually does do just on.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
That'll be interesting.
Okay, who is critiquing? Actually, before we do that,
Cue future Tyler.
Hello, my friends. This is Future Tyler. The context for this episode is not crazy exciting. It was a fun scene to write. We're kind of getting back with the Scooby Gang. We're seeing things through AJ's perspective, and he's talking to Luke and Layla and Amy, who, if you might remember, was a hound in the last book, but she's fine now, mostly a little bit traumatized. Main conflict of this chapter was Luke is kind of angry at everybody a little bit, especially AJ in some respects. And he is really not wanting to get back involved. They're still, these kids, they keep trying to fix everything and they keep making things worse. At least that's how it was in the last book. And he kind of realizes that and is pushing back against any thoughts about getting back into the woods, figuring out what's going on with this portal. Are there goblins in the woods? Layla, of course, is having her dreams. AJ is dealing with a bit of addiction. That's going to be interesting to explore further with him. A little bit of a magical doohickey going on right now. Yeah, lots of fun. Hope you guys read it someday.
You know what? I'll jump in. How about dem apples? Okay, let's see, because I definitely know which document I have pulled up. Oh, JC, I need to get me some blue screen glasses. I feel like there's this really awkward glare that everyone's going to notice now that appears on my glasses whenever I pull up the Word document. But just pay no attention.
It's going to be different. Like, I can still see reflections in JC's glasses, too.
Yeah.
Sweet.
They're not magical glasses. They're just slightly tinted.
They're just enchanted because they're on JC's face.
For sure.
Okay.
For sure.
You know.
All right. Tyler Q. Hess. Tyler Q. Hess. Okay.
Q. Hess.
What?
Tyler Quincy Hess, your full name.
There we
I quite enjoyed this submission for this week. So this would be, if you leave it in the place that it currently occupies, chapter 2 in the sequel to, well, it's The Hounds of Brecken, not Monster of the Week.
Brecken.
So dramatic. Yeah, I really enjoyed this section. So we're finally getting the follow-up on this side of the portal within the confines of Brecken to the events of the last book, which were, of course, quite dramatic, a lot of fallout. Most of that centers on the three main characters within the Scooby Gang. And I like that you make that feel so personal, and yet you can hint to what's happening in a larger sense in the town, or give us a little bit of exposition without feeling heavy-handed through the dialogue and a couple other places. So bravo on that. Man, this feels like all these characters are just reeling. Like they have gotten their heads rattled. Emotionally, they're just, I don't know, they're just done. Like everybody's trying to put a brave face on things. And I like the fact that it very much comes through the fact that they're kind of trying and failing to just kind of soldier through. I'm also a sucker for any story that takes us through a calendar year. And if your book series is doing that, so now you kind of mentioned that this is the holiday season, that Thanksgiving celebrations are a little muted due to the Fey threat lurking within the town or the woods, possibly. As they go into this Christmas season, everything is very muted and there's just a lack of joy. And I just love that. I love the fact that the characters are wearing colder, clothing, beanies, and all that sort of thing. It's those little touches for me, just like you had those little touches, just building this feel for the small town in the first book, that really go a long way towards making this still feel real, despite the fact that we have all this other stuff going on, the supernatural element. The fact that AJ feels this call to well, you never spell it out, which I love, to what I assume to be the book, the Enchanted Tome, which is now locked up away from his grubby hands. The fact that he's like trying to fill his brain with other dopamines and by scrolling through TikTok is also pretty funny. It's like, are you going to counter the evil of the Fey tome with an even greater evil in the form of TikTok? Good for you, AJ. Just doom scrolling.
Amen.
So just the ambiance of despair that occupies this chapter, I find just really cool. Of course, the fact that Amy pops up is really cool. I know you kind of toyed with in the last book when we'd gone over the brief Amy section early in the book, like saying, hey, maybe she'll appear in the second book. Who knows? And I'm glad to see that she has appeared, and the fact that she hasn't just like bounced back, like she's not who she was before. And that gives us a greater window into how all of the rest of the hounds are doing. So I found that really interesting. I'm looking forward to see her character progression. Yeah, I'll leave something for the other guys to say here, but there were a few sections, feel things you can revise for clarity, that sort of thing, but no huge issues that I feel like we need to harp on here. So great submission.
Okay, thank you.
Who's up next?
I'll take it. So, sorry, I was thinking. Yeah, I'm going to echo Gray. This is a good section. It will be interesting to me to see how you order things, because I know you said you're not 100% on where you want order of things. It'll be interesting because either one of the two chapters that you've given us so far would work great to start it out, because there's no lull in either one. Mm-hmm. It's right into it. And it's just, do you want to, how you want to approach it? So I think whatever one you put first will set the tone, the reader's expectations for the rest of the book. So, let's see. I like this, the end of November, the paragraph that starts with that, how it breaks down just sort of the changes that are going on real quick. It's a quick exposition without it feeling, heavy-handed. Let's see here. I liked the little addition of the doctor's note to get out of changing for gym class because of what happened when at the end of the last book, shall we say. I thought that was a nice world building detail that shows that the people of Brecken understand these events and that there is leeway given for events outside of people's control. A couple of places where I think just a little bit more like a little bit more emotion behind the words, a little bit more like, for example, when Amy talks, she asks how the bracelet works. I would like to hear like her tone of voice. Is she talking, quiet? Is it normal? Like kind of like, where's her volume at? And it will go a long way to adding to the already great details you've put in about how she reacts to people and situations. I thought it was interesting that Nan still trusted AJ for the most part. Like she's willing to extend him grace, basically. So on the where Amy talks about she doesn't get headaches or sick or cold or anything like that, how there's these after effects of her time as a hound. And, you read that on the outside and you think, oh, that'd be great. I would love to never get sick again. I would love to never get another headache again. But there's a cost to that, because instead of that being just a superpower, it marks her as somebody that's gone through something. And so whether or not, what kind of stigma, what kind of thing is attached to that, what kind of response are people going to have to that? So it's a potential silver lining if she can view it right, or if the Pete Town can view it right. It's hard to say. Anything I have mostly in this is going to be more of a nitpick. There's one thing we talk about. Layla says, "How the heck are you so wise, AJ?" He says, "I don't think I'd call me that." I think if you could throw in just a quick flashback or a quick memory about what happened in the last book right there to just emphasize that point that he'd made those decisions, I think it'd be a good little addition there. Then let's see here. I like Luke's entrance into the shop too. Actually, I like everything about Luke in this section.
He has changed a little bit.
Yeah, I like it a lot. Like what you did with him really worked really well. I love, and again, to echo Gray, I'm going to leave some for Kim to talk about. But your last line, he deserves to bleed for that. Beautiful ending. Like, when you put the message, when you uploaded it and you said you guys are going to hate this chapter, I was like, this is going to be one of those chapters, and it was. Like, it was comparable to this was before Kim joined us, but to the marshmallow scene, the fire scene. It's in the previous book where there's just one of those awkward teen tension moments that exist.
Teen tension.
Lots of teen not
tension.
teen. Anyway, it's just, Gray and I both talked about how we hate reading those scenes. But it was an important scene, and in the same, but this one, yeah, it's got that same feeling of, I mentioned it's kind of breaking of the fellowship almost moment, but you did such a good job with it. It flows so well. It does everything that this chapter needed to do to get us into Brecken in the aftermath. And so it wasn't as painful to read as the other one, simply because there was, and not that the other one, like we said, not the other one was written badly. It's just that this one had so much more weight to it because of what had happened at the end of book one. So yeah, good work. Like Gray said, there's a couple of places you can tighten things up, but that's more editor's side thing type of thing. So a lot of what you did is really good. So good on you.
Awesome. Appreciate it.
All right. I feel like they said a lot of what I was going to say, so this is great. But I did have a couple more things. One thing I really loved is that you were so willing to let AJ just be struggling still several months later, because I feel like a lot of sequels, the characters are mostly recovered from whatever happened in book one, and they jump straight to the next adventure so that we can see. But here it's like we see that he's immediately just still carrying the consequences of the choices he made in book one. And I also really loved the progression of that, because it felt like we started with AJ's internal conflict. Like he's like, oh, I'm scratching myself and I'm having to scroll TikTok to try and keep my mind off of things. And then it starts going a little bit more outward, and we've got his friend group. It's kind of, there's some tension there. And then we see Amy and we kind of get foreshadowing of maybe some more tensions there and kind of what that character arc might look like. And I like that we have that sense that there's a larger danger facing the world, but it just felt a lot more internal. And I feel like, especially for young adult, it just seemed like a really important priority. Because I know, like when I was a teenager, my internal conflicts felt more important than the things that were going on around me sometimes. That sounds really lame, but that's kind of how it was as a teenager. You're just figuring that out.
Tension.
So, teen tension. Yeah. Yeah. So I think just starting with those personal stakes, I feel like really helped me connect with him before we got into more global stakes. There was one detail, this is such a nit, but there was one detail, maybe not even a nit. It was just, there were shelves between him and the opening of the shop. And I was like, that would drive me bonkers, not being able to see the front of the shop. But then it also felt like it could be a little bit thematic. And also I was just imagining all the tense moments that could come up later with that kind of a setup. Like, oh, what's going to happen? Like, what kind of jump scares are we going to have here? And then I also was a little surprised that Nan still trusted him. I didn't see a lot of their relationship in book one, so there could be just like a lot there where they're just like really solid. But after everything that happened, I would have loved just maybe just a little bit of an explanation about why she still trusts him, or if there's, if he did something to earn her trust back, or if it's still just all good, just kind of just so that we know what happened there. But I agree. I really loved the dialogue, was so immersive. I thought the bracelets, like you were mentioning, you weren't sure if it was going to make sense, but it made total sense. And I really liked where you were going with that. And yeah, I had a couple small questions I marked in the document, but Other than that, this felt like exactly what I would have wanted from our first AJ chapter in this book. So well done.
You're muted, Tyler.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. I heard my family coming in. I was like, oh, better mute myself because I can see that the noise is coming through.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Kim.
Yeah.
This was a lot of fun to write. As you guys saw this week, it was a lot of early morning writing sessions. Like we are exactly where I am now in my writing process because I haven't written anything since I wrote that last line. I planned on outlining this book a lot more than I have so far, mostly because I don't know what's going to happen, and I've been kind of rushing to make sure that I have something for you guys to read. So I think it's been really good, actually. Like a lot of things that I'm just getting it down and I'm not really thinking a lot about it. And it's just it's been flowing really well, which I'm really, really thankful for. One thing that I wanted to ask about, and it was an interaction that I had planned one way, but then I changed it like as I was writing it, was so giving Amy that bracelet. And I was originally just going to have AJ give it to her, like, hey, it's on the house. And be like, oh, AJ's such a nice guy. Wow. And then I changed it to in exchange for a future favor. I wanted to know what that was. So I have plans for that. What did you think about that?
Well, I really liked that because... Oh, go ahead.
No, my bad. Ladies first.
Okay.
Go ahead, Kim.
I was just going to say I really liked that because I felt like maybe she wouldn't have accepted it otherwise. And so you could show that he was being kind of maybe considerate and knew that it was hard for her. So I felt like that showed something in his character that I resonated with.
Yeah. It was very godfatherly of you to have her owe him a favor at an unspecified time in the future. No, I agree with Kim. It awesome. Felt like AJ was doing this kind of like psychological jujitsu in the kindest possible way with the kindest possible motivations to make her feel not as bad about accepting what is essentially charity. Like she doesn't want someone to feel sorry for her because of what she's gone through is probably how AJ is looking at it. Yeah, so I quite like that. And also, of course, it does set up that future interaction.
Yeah, I look at it like AJ from how we meet him in the beginning of book 1. We all mentioned that he was sort of the big brother of the group. He came across very much as same age, but emotionally more mature. And this gives us that callback of, hey, this is still AJ. Yeah, he's made some bad choices. He's got some more baggage now, but he's still AJ. And then you add the line in where he says, where is that? I want to make sure I get it right. She doesn't need charity right now. She needs to feel useful. And that is often the case when people are confronted in situations like this, where they've been out of control or haven't had control on their own lives. And suddenly having freedom again, the desire, the want to be useful, to do something beyond just sit and feel pathetic. So I thought that was a great way of handling it and a great approach and insight.
Awesome. You guys caught one of the layers I was thinking about as I wrote it. There's also, fae and favors and stuff like that. I thought that would be interesting to start introducing now that the portal is open.
Yeah.
I think that would be...
I thought you were talking about a romance layer. Like, oh, interesting.
I don't know.
Hey, I saw how Layla...
That would work. That would work. No, I think because the portal is open, I think if you start introducing that as something that people just start doing, because they know if they have to interact with the Fae on that level, they might start interacting with everybody on that level simply because they don't want to make a mistake. And Fae are really good with glamours. So I think that's a good start, especially if you want to run with that theme throughout. I think it's a good idea.
That's pretty much exactly what I'm thinking about.
Yeah.
It was not what I had planned. I wrote it at 6 o'clock in the morning. It came out like that. Yeah, I don't have a ton of questions other than that. Gray, you actually made the same mistake I did, thinking that because I wrote that first bit where the thing that he needs is locked up downstairs, and I was thinking it was the book too. But then I went back to my last scene. I was like, oh, actually, the hunter took that book.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right.
So either I need to go back and rewrite that bit, which I don't think I'm going to, at least not in that way, or there's something else going on.
Yeah. I would. Okay. So, thinking about it, I like the fact that the hunter takes the book. It makes sense that he takes the book. Because one of the big themes about Fae and fairies, they don't like their artifacts staying out of their possession, and they will take them back.
Same for me.
Maybe you're a changeling.
That would make sense.
That would explain a lot.
And so AJ has this, like we said, the one ring or the addiction to the book, and he literally cannot get it anymore. So what if he finds a substitute, and it's even worse, more powerful,
like TikTok,
and then takes it, and so I think that could be an interesting character flaw you get to add to AJ, where he's fighting against, for lack of a better word, a magic addiction, where he's looking for artifacts without realizing he's looking for artifacts, looking for books, looking for ways to get access to the magic. And it, as an arc for him throughout the book, this book would be really interesting to explore, because he's so solid most of book 1. Solid, reliable AJ. Book 2, consequences of one bad choice. Just a thought.
Yeah, that's sort of what I'm thinking, and I'm considering whether I want to talk about what I'm actually thinking.
I wouldn't be surprised. Now that I don't know what's locked up, I'm like super curious.
Yeah, what is it? I don't know what it is either. I just know it's something.
It could be a single page of the book that was left behind somehow.
I think 2 out of 3 of you, maybe even all 3 of you, talked about why is Nan trusting AJ at this point. And so my thought with this, whatever magical item or whatever magical thing is in the safe downstairs, is that she is working to rehabilitate him, kind of, and teaching him more magic as she does that, to be like more, because the spellbook was too much too fast. Like mortals, I said several times in the last book, mortals were not meant to use it. There's magic that mortals can use, and we've seen that, and we've seen Nan do some cool stuff, and maybe AJ's going to learn a little bit of that as well.
That's cool, because you can argue that that was one of Nan's failures in book 1, that she didn't let him in on the family business, but sooner with greater responsibility. Now she's having to make up for that lack. Like, it's not just AJ's failing.
And he still doesn't have access to the safe, so it's like she's trusting him within bounds. Like, you can't really hurt people with these bracelets, especially if you don't have all the knowledge yet, like Nan does. But yeah, I probably said too much, but that's okay.
That'll be interesting. No, I think
I think that could really work. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, there's so many things I want to talk about with you guys, but I'll leave that for other times. Okay, I think I'm good. Thanks a lot.
Yep. I believe next up we have Kim.
Me? All right, cue future Kim.
Hey everyone, future Kim here. So the main storyline of my novel follows a character named Arabella, and a couple chapters ago she opens a book, and it's this magical book, and it says it's a story of Rowan and Penelope. So last week we got the story of Rowan, and this week we get a chapter of Penelope. So we learn that Penelope is a princess of Zephindrel, and she's about to meet her betrothed for the first time, and she's kind of nervous. And it's also a little bit weird to her because it happened really fast. Most people in this world have something called a flare, which is like a magical ability, and she so far hasn't had one. So she kind of had this betrothal happen really fast, and her parents set it together, and she's like not sure how she feels about it. So she goes in and meets this guy, and we're just like not sure how we feel about him. At first he's like really stoic and kind of aloof, And then he seems like he might be kind of like opening up and warming up, and then he's like aloof again, and we're just not sure. And the guys didn't catch it, but if you're reading it back to back, you'll notice that it's the same commander that was in Rowan's chapter that we all kind of hated. So that's about it on this chapter. Basically her just meeting this guy.
Okay. And then Tyler up to bat first?
Yep, I can do it. Again, I was super confused. Like, who is this person? Penelope. I went back and it's this. She's reading the stories about Rowan and Penelope. I was like, okay, she's still in the book, which is cool. Really great freaking characterization right off the bat. Penelope felt like such a character. It's like such a real character straight off the bat. I was like, oh, I understand you so much. You are so different from me, but I understand you. I'm like, well done. Just because like her like high anxiety like was really coming through, really well, and I'm excited to see what's going on in this story. Like I do have some concerns. I wonder if like within the frame narrative where this is. I just looked at her name, so I could write it in the comments just this morning. Your main character's name,
Arabella. Penelope?
Arabella.
Okay, that was what I was thinking. I didn't think that was right. Within the frame narrative, where she's in the library now, she's reading this book. I just pacing wise, I wonder if you ought to break up these chapters that she's reading a little bit, just so it's like, okay, we're still in the real world, real things are still happening while she's reading this thing, unless she is magically being forced to read the entire book in one sitting. In which case. Man, how horrible would that be? But I just think, like pacing wise, like I can't think of any kind of book where I've seen this before, but I'm sure I've seen it before where there's, and it's not necessarily going to be where they're reading another book, but like another story, like another fairy tale is kind of being told at the same time as the main story, and I've seen that broken up a little bit more. So I don't know what you're planning with that. I think it could have been worth having a scene with Arabella in between these two last chapters. And I'm also really interested in how like Penelope and Rowan, right? Who was the last one?
Mm-hmm.
Rowan are connected because their worlds seem very different. I did really like how, this is not as important in my critique as some of the things, but I really liked how you the water lifts, you hinted them. It's like, oh, we're in the past. Like those. There was another thing. I was like, I thought those already existed. It's like, oh no, we're reading a fairy tale. They don't exist yet. That makes sense. That was a really cool touch. And it also makes her feel connected to whatever kind of airship contraption that Rowan is on. So very well done there, connecting your different storylines here. We finally get a little bit more of how the magic system works, like the limitations of what they can do, which I think I was begging for a couple of weeks ago. So I really appreciated that. It can be anything from as simple as making ribbons curl up to shifting emotions through song, which is really cool. And then we meet, what's his face? Lord Harold. That's his first name, right?
Yeah.
No, that's my middle name, so I remember that. Gothard.
No, it's way. Not Quincy.
It was Quincy.
I don't use it for any security questions, so I feel okay saying it on the internet. I don't know what to think about him. In a good way, like in a very good way. There are hints that he is a major bad guy, like the whole wolf symbolism with the stained glass above his head, and where he leaves as well. Like, oh, he's a bad guy. He's a wolf. He's a predator. He's not going to be good for her. But then he has that moment where like he has like an earnest look, and it's like, oh, maybe he is okay. And I don't know where I'm leaning. Like, I think he could be either one, and it would be really cool either way. So very well done there, foreshadowing for both situations where he's a legitimate love interest or where he's just the bad guy in her story. So that was really cool. I guess I should probably leave some stuff for the other guys to say as well, but really, really liked it. it might be my favorite thing that I've read from you so far.
Oh,
So
thank
really,
you.
really well done. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's what I've got.
Great, thank you.
JC, shall you go or shall I go? That was grammatically correct, wasn't it?
I went second last time, so why don't you take us off? I'll end us off.
Sounds good. I shall. Yeah, Kim, I would echo much of what Tyler said. The interesting thing is, I forgot that this was a frame narrative within the context of that fairy tale book, and so I was just kind of digging into it as a separate POV, which I like the idea of it being both. Like, it is what Arabella is reading. It's kind of a history, kind of a fairy tale, kind of an accounting or a diary, but it's also a separate POV. Like, I really like that. I know Tyler had potential issues with the placement of this. With respect to Arabella's POVs, just because she seems to be the main POV, so you don't want to edge her out too much. I did find myself liking Penelope and Rowan more than her, which it potentially is a problem. And I mean, that just means that you did a really good job on this chapter and the last chapter. So I'm sure you could work your magic on the preceding chapters, or maybe it's just anytime you get into a new book and step into a new pair of shoes in a new world, it's going to feel a little bit weird till you break them in. And maybe I've just reached that point. But for all that being said, I did quite enjoy this chapter. Characterization for Penelope is excellent. Her voice comes through very clear. She uses words like periwinkle that I had to Google to fully understand as a heterosexual man. But now I know that it's purple that you meant to say.
What's that
so that
supposed
was
to mean
great.
for us who didn't have to look it up? Great.
It just means what it means. How many children do you guys have? Let's see.
Yep.
That's enough proof. Okay. Oh my goodness, where were we? I love the little bits of world building that you sneak in here, and you do it very tactfully in a way that makes sense for these interactions. So the fact that the cornflowers are being woven through her hair initially, because that's kind of an homage to the place that her now fiance grew up, and so I don't know. I like the fact that you like sneak in the chance to tell us about different parts of the world through flowers in someone's hair. Like that's pretty artfully done, I would say. Like Tyler alluded to, you did so with the fountains as well, and I really enjoyed that. And you did break down the magic system more, which was great. Let's see. Her clumsiness and an unfortunate propensity to contract the hiccups under duress. That's great. So you kind of give us this Chekhov's gun in the form of her personality, of her, just tendency to get nervous and to do weird things when she's nervous. And then, unfortunately, like an episode of The Office, Michael Scott does the thing. Like, you're like, oh, the awkwardness happens, and you feel the awkwardness. All of that was great. I agree regarding her fiance. The symbolism with the stained glass behind him in the shape of the wolf seems to say one thing. His sudden warmth at one point seems to say another, and his overall demeanor seems to fall back in pattern with our first impression. So I like the fact that I'm not sure where the wheel is going to land on his character. Let's see. Yeah. Is her flair to break stuff? Like, that is my guess at this point. You say the fact that she doesn't know what her flair is, or she doesn't have one yet. Like, maybe she's just a klutz and breaking stuff is her flair. I don't know how that works in her magic system, but
I feel like I have seen that before, where like there's
Alcatraz versus the evil librarians.
Is that what it was?
Alcatraz versus the evil librarians.
I love that book. This is a little different, but yeah, you'll find out.
Yeah.
Is that like a Captain Underpants type thing? What is that?
It's Brandon Sanderson's middle grade series. It's
fantastic.
hilarious.
It's so funny.
Hilarious.
I did not even know
his publisher screwed up royally. It could have competed with Harry Potter, and the publisher just didn't know what to do with it, so they didn't do anything with it. And he got the rights back and has gone a different publisher, I believe. It's a great series.
It really is. It's so good. Ooh, I want to go back and read it now.
Yeah, next time I'm in junior high, I'm going to give that a read. That sounds awesome. Let's see. I think that's about all I had to say. Oh, my very last comment, I'll read it word for word. So solid. This chapter has the prose, pacing, and characterization of a pro. Excellent, no matter what Tyler says. And that's
What the heck?
I predicted it, so I let you critique first.
That's funny.
That's so funny.
No, in all seriousness, I feel like this episode is just going to be me giving out kudos, and like I wish that I could be more useful and give more critical feedback that might help you improve your craft. But it's just going to be like, oh yeah, I really enjoyed reading this. Thanks for the advanced reader copy. Like, but I'm happy to do it.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's it for me.
It's
Awesome.
so funny
Thanks,
that
Gray.
you predicted that we would disagree slightly. Like I feel like you and I always disagree a little bit.
Which is nice. I
Yeah.
feel like to have that
Yes.
counterbalance.
It'd be boring if we all disagreed on everything.
Yes,
Yeah, it's nice to have the different perspectives.
it is. All right. So I want to say the very first thing, the smiling portion of her etiquette lessons about made me spit my drink all over my screen.
It was so good.
I'm studying the Victorian era like I've been doing and reading what I've been reading. It's like, yeah, like that sounds on the outside so ridiculous, but it fits so well in this society where you have these roles and these strictures and these expectations. And yeah, I could absolutely see that, but it is also hilarious to read. So that was, and it gives such a great start to this section. I love where it goes. So on the side of the frame narrative, as Tyler was mentioning it, if you don't want to slap in an entire Penelope chapter in between Rowan, or not Penelope, Arabella chapter in between these two, you could easily start it off with a pause as Arabella kind of looks around and then goes back to reading. Again, depends on what you're going for.
Even just as like a reminder of who the main character is. Like, oh yeah. This is the book we're reading.
So one movie, and I got made fun of last time I mentioned this one. I don't know where you sit in the hierarchy of ages of the group, but I'm not going to ask. No. Never-ending Story. You seen it? Okay.
It's been a long time, but yeah.
Okay. You think about it. It starts out, we're in the real world. He starts reading the book. He's in the fantasy world, but occasionally things happen in the real world that pulls him out. And so,
are you talking about the Princess Bride?
No.
Are you sure
the Princess Bride would be
That's
another
good example, though.
That's another good example.
It's one of my favorites.
So yeah, just something like that. Small interjections would help us say, "Oh yeah, that's right. We're in a story within a story."
Kim, I feel like I could have guessed that Princess Bride would be one of your favorites.
Oh yeah, it's totally my favorite. I love it.
It should be one of everyone's favorites.
It should be.
Yeah, I totally agree.
The line, the effect made her look like a wind-up doll cranked a turn too tight. I loved that. That was such a great line, and it gave so much more to the picture. Like I can suddenly picture her really, really well because of that. So I will say one thing that reading more about the flares and understanding more about the flares in this one made me wonder, does Arabella have one? And if she does, why haven't we heard about it? But then something later in the chapter happens and it makes me think maybe Penelope and Arabella have the same flare. And this is how Arabella learns about it. My writer brain ran wild as I was reading. So, I love the fact that, like Tyler said, the flares range from the ability to curl ribbons to very clearly violent and destructive things, as we learned that somebody had to be isolated on an airship for however long to keep from hurting other people.
And to be clear, like curling ribbons could still be very useful.
I can't do that.
Like I can see some application, like not
Yes.
even just like combat applications, which is where you usually think about that, but just like working in like a ribbon shop. Like how
Yeah.
useful would that be?
Wrapping
Yes.
Christmas presents.
Yeah.
Yes.
Once a year. Coming out of birthday cakes.
Such a concept.
You can be useful.
Anyway,
There's got to be a progression fantasy about that. Like
Yeah.
Earl Ribbon Curler, he was given the power nobody wanted and transported to another world, forced to survive against goblins until he learned it was actually the ultimate cheat power. Like JC, you could write that.
sorry, that sounds like something straight out of manga or anime.
Yeah, it does.
It really does. Ooh.
Do-do-do-do. Where was I? In Kim's piece. So you mentioned Lady Lavinia twice. One quick background detail about who she is. Ambassador, and just why does she know so much, and why does Penelope trust her information so much? So you're I'm assuming you're establishing this other nation as a very militaristic nation in comparison to Penelope's, because it comes across that way. And if that's your intent, good job, you've nailed it. All right, good. Wanted to double check. Make sure I don't miss anything that I thought was relevant. No, good. This, I'm going to echo a lot of what Tyler and Gray said. It's a really strong piece. It continues to show how great of a writer you are. And yeah, I mean, a couple of little things here and there, like we said, but otherwise, keep going. This is an excellent addition to the book. And yeah, can't wait to read the next piece. Good job. Got any questions for us?
Thanks so much. Yeah, okay. I am trying to figure out how to break up. I was going to do one more chapter of Penelope and then go back to Arabella, but I'm wondering if it's too much, or if it's just because we're reading them slow, far apart, that it's like we've got one chapter and then I guess I'm just trying to figure out if it's like I need to be every other chapter, or if it's okay to be like two chapters and then one chapter and then two. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I guess I'm trying to figure out if you guys have read books that have had similar things. I've read books that have similar things, and sometimes they'll go like 7 or 8 chapters and then go back, but that feels like kind of long. So
Yeah, and the difference between like this one and Princess Bride is that the little boy being read the story isn't the main character.
right.
So I think you can intersperse it with little things like JC said, like she pops up and like, oh, I'm thirsty, I need to go to the bathroom, whatever. I do think I would maybe do that between these previous two, between Rowan and this chapter, and then if you want to include another, like obviously you're going to include another chapter, Penelope, just having a little bit more of a break, like maybe somebody comes along and kicks her out of the library, and so she has to go read under a street lamp, which maybe that doesn't seem very safe. So maybe
bad for your eyes.
Character that'd be and also bad for your eyes. Give her just like a small break between the first two, and then the larger break. That progresses the plot a little. Like maybe she goes home and she like knows that her dad is waiting to speak to her about her date, so she avoids him and goes and reads the next chapter before she has that. I don't know. That could be there could be.
Yeah, and there's a sense of danger with this book, right? That's why she came to the library specifically to read it. So if somebody does interrupt her at this point in the narrative, and we get a clean chapter break that way, right after what we've read here, and she has to, to secret the book away again and chance reading it outside of this safe environment of the library, but maybe now she's so hooked by the narrative, as are we at this point, that she'll be able, she'll do something like Tyler said, she'll read it in secret somewhere and take that risk. Like that would just up the tension in the real world, or, in Arabella's POV chapter. And then when she's able to get back to the book, we'll get back to the book when the time is right.
Okay.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
How much of the narrative does the tale of Rowan and Penelope take up? Like, how much of the screen time?
I feel like it starts going kind of alternating a little bit, where it's Arabella's definitely still a main, but they're kind of main too. So I feel like it's kind of
I like that.
A little bit maybe advantageous, but we're gonna try it, see how it goes.
Yeah. Okay, so in that case, do the two narratives eventually, beyond being set in the same location, just at distant parts of each timeline, do they eventually interweave? Do they eventually intersect? Is there any point?
Yeah. Okay. It's you'll find out. It's at the end of this one, you'll kind of find out, and that's a series, so it's going to be a little while before we find out everything. But yeah, it will. It'll all connect.
If so, I will say that your pacing will determine how quickly you want the two to start intersecting, and how much of the Rowan and Penelope story is going to affect Arabella's story, and that is how you want to gauge it, I would say.
A good idea. Okay, that's helpful. I had two more questions for you. I was curious if you caught that Commander Gothard was the same commander on the Rowan airship. Did you catch that it was the same person? You didn't catch that it was the same person?
The cherry dude?
Yes, the cherry dude.
I didn't catch that.
I'm just trying to figure out if it's because it's been like 2 weeks since you've read it. So I'm like, is it because it's 2 weeks?
It would have been more.
Or would people catch up on that?
No, I think he is so prominent in the Rowan chapter because he has such a huge portion of that chapter. I think anybody reading it's going to be like, oh, that's the same, or at the very least think, well, maybe that's his dad, because again, there was a little bit of ambiguity about his age. But
if you give him like a mole or a mustache or some identifying mark, we'll know for sure.
That's a good point.
Yeah. They do act the same, and I honestly I made the exact same comment the first time we saw Commander Gothard. I almost I hate him, and in this chapter, I hate him, and I was like, oh, okay, maybe he was okay.
Okay, great. And then I should have asked it last time, and I just didn't because I was brain dead. But I was wondering if you guys caught that it's like this is a story of Rapunzel, and then she opens it up, and then are you catching that this is feeling like a Rapunzel retelling with the airship? No?
That's cool. That's really cool.
No.
Okay.
It's cool.
Okay, no,
if it's not coming across, I need to know that so that I can fix it. But
I would make a few more allusions to the ladder in the Rowan chapter.
Okay.
Make it try to make it sound like Rapunzel's hair, as it were, without being super direct.
Okay. Yeah, I was trying, but I just wasn't sure if it was coming across, so maybe I'll have to look at that again.
I'm trying to think if it would have been more obvious if we were reading the past 3 chapters straight through.
Yeah.
I don't know that it would be. I think you do need some more allusions.
Okay.
I'm probably just you're doing a cool gender swap thing. I think I'm just put off. I didn't catch on to it because Rowan was a dude.
Yeah.
And I don't think about
I think that's
the
part
Rapunzel
of it.
myth. Do cherries play a part in the Rapunzel fairy tale? Or is there a food that plays a part in the Rapunzel fairy tale?
Yeah, it depends on where you are in the world. So, but there is definitely food. So there's Rapunzel, or there's Personella, or there's different, or radishes and some. So there's food definitely plays a part.
You might do something with that too.
And there's a backstory. Once we get his backstory, it'll be a little more obvious maybe, but it's hard because you don't want to do so much, Yeah.
So this might be a stretch. The guys might disagree. You might disagree. We have a Rapunzel telling happening at the beginning of the book. Put a cherry in that. Somehow.
That's cool.
A good idea. That's a really good idea, actually.
That ties it. And that gives you a little bit more of a through line to it as well.
And I feel like I say this all the time, but I'm willing to wait if that If that connection comes through later and, becomes more clear, the more we get to know Rowan and his story, that's okay with me too.
Yeah, I completely agree with that.
Yeah.
For once.
For once.
They agreed on something.
We have made peace.
Yeah. No, that puts a really interesting spin on the whole thing. I'm excited to see where it goes. So that's cool.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay.
Yeah,
I think that were all my questions.
Just to go off on of what Gray just said, that I totally agree with. I do think you want to. How did this really good writer put it? Whoever writer might even think about. Like it should have felt inevitable that this was a Rapunzel story. Like they should be able to look back and be like, oh, it was so obvious. It was staring me right in the face. How did I not see it?
Yeah.
Which I don't think it's quite there yet. Like you say it, and I'm like, oh, that's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think I ever would have seen it. Like maybe not even on like a second rereading it. I don't think I would have seen it. So I do think more hints are going to be necessary to get that cool light bulb moment.
Yeah.
Later on or whenever you put that.
So going back to the Rapunzel story that we see in the Imaginarium, if you could reference, for example, that her hair is like Arabella thinking of her hair like a ladder. Maybe it's not as direct. And then again, it's maintaining this symbology throughout, and that will, I think without it being super heavy handed, then the readers will get to that moment like Tyler's talking about, where they'll get to the end and they'll be like, oh, how did I not see that? There was this, and this.
Those are great suggestions. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
The Sixth Sense. At the end, you're like, of course.
Yes.
I won't spoil it.
Yes.
I've never seen it, but I know exactly what you're talking about because every writer talks about it.
Yes.
I haven't.
Because it's already been spoiled for you? Is that why you're...
Almost, yeah. Like, honestly. Like, I know it's a good movie. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I need to watch it, but it's like, I know what happened. I know almost exactly what happens.
It's like...
Yeah, it's fair.
Yeah, you slap yourself at the end of it. You're like, how did I not see that? But it's so brilliant. So, yeah, maybe achieve the same effect.
All right. Do you have any other questions for us, Kim?
Those were my questions. Thank you. Are we on to Gray?
Okay. Cue future Gray.
Okay, what's up, fellow kidness? So this week's contribution is also different. I'm kind of experimenting with different POVs here. So for this chapter, we cut away from the action that has been unfolding in the Valley of the Mist, and we actually backtrack back to the edge where our heroes kind of initially got blasted into this valley in this dangerous situation. So we come across the aftermath of the battle with Niles, this giant bronzewood golem creature. It's kind of inhabited by this ancient demon entity, which is now lying amidst a smoking crater. We actually shift to the POV of a heretofore unintroduced character named Captain Rithla, who actually belongs to the Murmur clan, which is the same clan that Atot belongs to and was kind of hint at banished from. So this clan are basically like the ninjas of this world. So they're all clad in black and they're all cool looking and they have swords. And they're basically sizing up the scene, determining if it's safe to proceed, what they should do with this bronzewood armor that's now laying potentially uninhabited, potentially still dangerous. And as they soon find out, the armor is still dangerous. So they spot the incoming forces of the jackals, these disparate kind of mercenary tribesmen who are loyal to Niles. So the Murmur clan withdraws to the tree line. They kind of remain hidden like the ninjas that they are, and just watch the rest of the scene play out as the jackals come to reclaim the armor. Turns out, of course, that Niles is still alive, ready and raring to go, with a bigger grudge than before. Of course, he sacrifices one of his subordinates again in order to kind of reawaken and rejuice himself using some kind of twisted blood magic. And then the Murmur clan gets away after withdrawing the body of Atat, who it turns out is still clinging to life, and it's hinted that they will bring him back to their village for treatment and for trial. So yay for the 2 T's of pain. I'd also like to point out the fact that right before recording this, I did discover a dead grasshopper that my cat had dragged in. You're welcome. So there's just a lot of death going on in this segment. All right, let's see what everyone else has to say.
I don't know. Who wants to go first?
Kim, you want to lead
Do
us
you want me
off?
to go?
Yeah.
Who
Sure, I can
has
go.
to go first? I know nobody wants to.
I don't mind going first.
So it's better to go first than to go last, to be fair. I think we've discovered that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone says all the
Left with
things you're going
nothing
to
else.
say, and you're like, oh no. Okay, I just have to say, I just love how deliciously rich your world is. Like, there's just so many layers and things happening, and every chapter, there's just another world building detail that I just want to latch onto, and I'm like really excited about. So one of the things in this chapter, they'd been mentioned before, but I hadn't really encountered them yet, were the familiars. I thought that was so cool. I was getting kind of his dark materials vibes, which I loved. And so, yeah, I really loved a lot of these little world building details you wove throughout. I also don't think I've read a chapter in Captain Rithla, is that how you say her name? Rithla's
Yeah.
POV yet. So it was really interesting to see some of the things that we've been following from that outside perspective and kind of see that it's just different, you know? That said, I do feel like we don't know that it's her point of view until like page 2. And it might have been your intention, but I personally would have felt a little more grounded if we'd known that sooner. A couple times I didn't really understand her motives or how she was perceiving some of the things. So I would have loved just a couple more, just to know that earlier. And there were a couple times I would have loved just a few more filters or reactions in her head where like she's observing something and I wanted to know how she was feeling about it or what her reactions were or yeah, that kind of thing. And then one downside of starting a novel partway through is there's times that I've just aggressively filled in the gaps based on previous reading experiences and tropes. And there are a couple of characters I couldn't quite figure out. And so like Atat, I was just like, oh, I think I may have totally misread him. Cause like, so going back through the dialogue, I was like, is he like a gentle giant archetype? But after this chapter, I'm like, I think I was wrong. I don't really know. So that was like one thing on my comments to just know I didn't know fully some of the characters. And then I loved there were a couple paragraphs near-ish the end where we got to see a glimpse of the barrier magic. I thought those paragraphs did just such a great job of doing some heavy lifting. Like we got to see inside the captain's head. We got to see the barrier magic at work. We got to see what was at stake in the scene. And they were really, really well written. And then I know we've talked about Niles before, and I feel like he's mostly working for me, but there's just some moments where he edges a little bit into caricature. Like in this chapter, every time he spoke, my brain just kept supplying a Skeletor voice. Like I just kept hearing like He-Man in the background. I don't know.
Wait, like Jared Leto or
yeah,
cartoon?
like the original, the cartoon,
Oh.
the cartoon.
Okay.
Yeah, I kept hearing that in my head. I don't know. And it might have just been me, but yeah, there's just a couple times I just thought maybe it would benefit from a little more nuance or just having him be a little more ambiguous or like holding back just a little bit so we're not seeing like everything he's thinking. So that was just one note. But overall, I just loved the world building. I really liked hearing this new point of view. And yeah, I'm really excited to read more of your stuff. So well done.
Awesome. Thank you.
JC, I have 2 children crying in my background. Feel free to go next so I can keep myself muted.
Gotcha.
Can you shake your water bottle aggressively first, though? Like you're
That
a
was
bartender?
JC.
Yeah, no,
I
I'm talking to
almost muted him
JC.
just
Yeah.
now.
Sorry about that.
I
Didn't
almost
even think.
used my power to mute him. It's like,
Well, he
that
was
so
mixing
much.
drinks, I think.
Yeah, I should have. Sorry.
You're all
Spaced it.
good.
All right. Yeah. So I like, in general, this chapter worked. I'm going to echo Kim and say I think we needed to be grounded in whose POV we were in a little bit quicker. There was a couple of line reads that were a little clunky. I've noted those. But I really like getting this outside perspective, like Kim said. And it'll be really interesting to me to read. Part of me almost took all of the sections of yours that we've had so far, put them in a document, and read them straight through. The only reason I didn't, because I have limited hours in the day.
I have a life.
Because I really want to see how this flows, because I like everything that you're doing. I like the story that you're telling. I like the direction you're taking it. I want to make sure it works as you're telling it. I like the fact that this gives us background into Atat without having to do an Atat POV when we know that he's currently unconscious and half cooked. You answer questions in this section. You ask more questions. Again, it's well written. It goes well together.
Something's not hitting though, huh?
It's not. I'm like I said, I want to see how it flows. Like, I've read a lot of epic fantasy. If you want to see a absolute masterclass of way too many POVs, the book of... Okay, I'm gonna grab it so I get the actual name of the dang thing right.
And
He's doing it.
He's
reaching
we're hitting our drinking game requirement. I'm sure he's reaching for a Wheel of Time book.
No,
Fill that bingo space, boys and girls.
different.
Oh,
Stephen
Wait, I don't
Erickson, A Tale of Malazan, Book of the Fallen. Okay, Stephen Erickson was a historian before he wrote his first book. You will read the first book, get characters POV, and then you go to this one. None of those characters are mentioned hardly. You're a completely different set of POVs, completely different part of the world, completely different but related story of what's happening. And I want to say there's like 6-7 POVs in book 1 and just as many in book 2. And then they get combined in book 3. And it can work.
Well, that's a lot.
that is a lot.
In book 3, like combining them, like, oh my goodness, 14 POVs.
It's
after not being
lot.
with the POV for a whole book.
Yeah. But the thing is, and don't get me wrong, this sits firmly in Grimdark. So if you don't like Grimdark, it's going to be a bit of a heavy read. Anyway. What my point of this whole thing is it's possible to do a first book in the series with as many POVs as you're doing. It's not impossible. And that's why I want to see, like, I really want to read all of what you have so far up to this point, just straight through as a reader to see if I get to this point and I'm like, oh, not another one. Or if I'm like, wow, I get more about the world. I'm leaning on the side of this gives me more about the world. It keeps me interested because it's not like you're going to the other side of the planet. You're still in the same geographic region. Everything is still relevant to what's been happening. And so, yeah, I think you're on the right track. I really do. I think you're going to get away with this. You might have to reorganize and restructure a little bit, but what I'm trying to tell you is it's not impossible to have this many POVs because you're keeping them interesting and you're keeping them relevant. So, and this one is well written. Go ahead. You were saying, Tyler?
I'm trying to think of how many POVs we've had because we had Stills, then we went to.
Are you counting Stills and Nin as the same character?
I am counting them as different POVs.
Okay.
We briefly had we've had Nihilus, we've had the
kid.
old guy at the Abbey,
Yeah, we had the abbot essentially.
or Origin,
Whatever his name
his
is.
Yeah,
Origin.
short for. We
You've had the kid.
had
The kid.
Balsam,
And
Yeah.
now this one.
And now
and now
this
that.
one.
So that's
That's 6. That's
Most of them, well, you technically had, even at the beginning, you had that one guy, Birch, that like died within
Yeah.
2
I
paragraphs.
forgot about that.
So there's definitely some
But, well, the thing-
throwaways that are like one time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The thing about that, like you say, it's a one time. We know he's dead. We know we're not getting his POV anymore. And that's fine. And like all of the POVs do something for the story. In my opinion. I think the only one that I'm kind of iffy on is the kid. And that's simply because it's such a shift from adult POV to really needs to be an adult, but it's not quite an adult POV. But it's all really well written. You're doing a good job with it. And it's not a critique, it's a curiosity. I want to see how it feels when it's all together. I will be really interested to see how it feels when it's all together, because you've done such a good job with the world. Like, I'm invested in the world. I'm interested in the world, and I know that there's a greater conflict going on because of what's going on with Nihilus, the Erlagotha, and the Jackals. And you keep tying the elements together. So, yeah, it's good. You're doing great. But that question just sits in my mind. So, let's see here. The imagery, by the way, of the guy getting dissolved and waking Nihilus up, I like that, was really good. Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark vibe.
Yeah.
With the melting, that was good. I don't know. I kind of like Nihilus as this sinister version of Skeletor, I guess. I mean, giving him a Skeletor voice is hilarious to me. I think okay. So right here, this is one of the things I noted. He's looking at the guy, I don't remember his name, and he says, "Now serve me for a lifetime." If you switched that to "I command you to serve me for a lifetime," you take him from a power to somebody who believes themselves to be a god, because gods give commandments. If
Because of
Nihilus,
the religious nature of that particular word.
yes. So if Nihilus views
Interesting.
himself as a deity, whether he is or not is irrelevant. If he views himself as such, he would adopt or use religious language that he knows has an effect on people. And if you change up some of his dialogue to echo that, to where he is trying to do that, I think that'll make him feel more sinister.
Yeah, I'm all about that.
Okay, is that red orb the same red orb that we learned about in the short story?
Maybe.
Okay, just had to ask. Da-da-da-da.
Sharp
like-
He doesn't
eyed.
have any idea what we're talking about.
I was wondering if that might be too much. I'm like, I don't explain what's happening here, but yeah.
No, to me it does. It isn't. I only ask out of curiosity. It's not a detriment to the story. I mean, he's a leader of the people. He pulls out a magic artifact. I mean, that makes sense. I like that having the familiars have a consequence. If the familiar dies, it hurts. So that was a good edit. I like that addition. I like that the power has consequences, says the guy who struggles writing that. So, and your ending line is just beautiful. Excuses are for the dead. You have no such luxuries. I love that. It was a great way to end this section. And you give Nihilus a few more moments like that, and he's going to shift very rapidly. And to me, it's okay to occasionally give him sort of this larger than life, almost caricature personality at times, especially when you bring it down with lines like that, where it's like, no. This guy acts like this because he's genuinely more powerful than everything else around him. And so he can get away with that. I don't know if you've ever watched some fights in the UFC. There's a particular fighter that views himself as so much better than everybody else that he kind of goofs around in the ring. And it almost never backfires on him, because he is a really good fighter and he has really good technique. So every once in a while, he'll sort of, while his opponent's trying to approach, he'll dance in the ring and just kind of goof around. And the guy gets close and he gets his face kicked in, almost literally. And so for Nihilus to kind of have these moments of like sadistic or lunatic levity if done right, won't necessarily detract. But like I said, you give him these lines like this and the sinister nature of what he is and what he's trying to do. So, yeah,
man, that's so funny. That last line, I was like, man, this is terrible. Oh well, I just need to close out this chapter. I'll put something down. I
thought it was a great line.
I loved that line. I loved the last line. I made a note.
Agreed.
Yeah. That's all I got, Tyler.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I can. We're still in the middle of bedtime meltdowns, but that's all right. Hopefully you won't hear too much. I echo a lot of what these guys are saying. Really, really good section. Really solid. The murmurs are really cool. I like they're a little bit of they feel like memory mage adjacent with their familiars, and that's probably purposeful, which I think is really cool. You have some really cool lines about them. The obsidian-colored swords sheathed on their backs were remarkable purveyors of silence. It's like, oh, very nice, very nice. And then the next one is like the murder of murmurs. It's like, okay, that might be a bit too much.
Like a murder of crows?
Yeah.
Well, it's not a murder. Well, it's a murder of crows, but these guys are raven people, so it should be a conspiracy. Because it's a conspiracy of ravens.
Oh, how does that one deal with the audience? Is that too cheesy? Because I kind of like it.
The conspiracy of I don't know. I think the murder of murmurs was, and it's also like a little bit too, like obviously they're out here killing people, like they are murdering like that. Yeah, it was maybe a little bit too on the nose for me. I usually like alliteration, so that's not really what I'm complaining about. Oh, my lights are flickering. Hopefully we'll stay good. But lots of super cool lines, like the lines, the line, Nihilus had a lot of really good lines. He had more lines that really landed for me this time than he usually has. He's had really good lines before, but there are fewer lines that kind of kick me out of it and maybe disrespect him a little bit as a god figure in this one. So I feel like you're starting to get, from my perspective, a really good handle on what it is like to write a character like this, which is a lot of fun. Getting more of Atat's backstory, even just by his association with this tribe, made a lot of sense to me. I've been curious about him for a long time, and it makes sense that it's these people. Feels like they've recently discovered the Master Gardener and joined this vaguely Christian religion, and they're enjoying some benefits from that, which I think is really cool. Yeah, I really don't like, again, like kind of what you're saying, like lots of kudos, not a lot of things to ding you on. A couple of anachronisms, as always, but those can be edited out. Yeah, I don't really have anything new to say that these guys haven't already said. So I'll leave it at that. Very well done.
Yeah, cool. Thank you, guys. It's been interesting as I'm kind of just, trying to get my word count in. So the outlining has gone out the window more than I would have liked it to, obviously. But I did spare a writing session at some point this last week to kind of do a rough outline. And so this being the middle of the book, it's kind of, there's definitely some subplots and some, of course, resulting different POVs. Tyler, I was thinking a lot about what you said last week with the kid with Balsam. And I think a lot of that rings true for me. And I think a lot of what's going on there can be done through Nin's POV. And so that's one way to kind of like chop out one more, if not entirely, then, largely give that to the main character, give him something to, if not to do, then to observe. Yeah. So it'll be interesting. Like JC said, reading this through, I was kind of going for that like Wheel of Time, where occasionally he'll throw in another character and they have like one POV during the book, even if they don't get killed off. Like, what's that pirate name? Pirates guy, that smuggler dude. Cannot remember his name for the life of me.
But yeah. He actually becomes a super important character.
Does he?
Through the end of the series.
No,
not
Paddington Thane. Yeah. Although he is super interesting.
Bail Doman.
Yeah. Okay. That dude. That's pretty sure.
Yes. Because he shows up in 1, he shows up in 3, he shows up in 5, he comes back in 7, and then stays almost throughout the rest of it. Only because I recently reread it, don't forget.
Yeah. So I guess my posing this in the form of a question to Kim and Tyler then, since JC kind of gave me his take and brought this up, and thank you for that, JC.
Mm-hmm.
What do you have any potential solutions for juggling these POVs? Do you see it yet as a problem? Yeah.
How many is this supposed to be a series, or is it just like one? It's a series. I think if you have a series, and you give it, like, there's a purpose for every point of view. I feel like as long as you have a purpose, it doesn't really matter to me how many points of view you have. Like, because like you said, Wheel of Time, I just go along with it. I'm like, great, we're getting a new perspective. Like, I don't mind it, but I don't like it when there's just a point of view for the sake of a point of view. And so far, I haven't seen that in your writing. I feel like it all is mostly making sense. I would just make sure you pay that off at the end. Yeah. And that you have kind of a plan for where you're going with each one.
Yeah. I'm not going to say this with any amount of confidence because I haven't read straight through. We've been reading it pretty piecemeal. But I think with POVs, you want to be in kind of a rhythm with it, like switching between them. And I'm a terrible example of this, so don't look at my stuff. But like, if you're going to have the reader prepared to switch to different POVs, you kind of want them to know that that's going to happen. And you did that at the beginning when you started off with Birch, and then we were in like Steels and Nian, and you can kind of count them as this, like, functionally in this case of what I'm saying, kind of the same POV because we're looking at the same body. It's the same sort of character. And then we had a long time without a POV switch, if I'm remembering correctly. Again, not saying that with any kind of confidence, because I remember there was a Nyla's POV stuck in there. Yeah, never mind. You're doing good. I think it's fine.
Tyler, thanks to you, I've been continuing on my reading Jim Butcher, that binge of Codex Alera. Mm-hmm. So nice. Good. But one thing I love is his unconventional POV structure. Like, I think I'm on book 3 or 4 at this point, because it's addicting. And he'll go like 4 chapters at a stretch with just one character POV, and then he'll like do the obligatory, like, let's check in on this character, see what they're doing. Great, they're still alive. Let's go back to this character. Not that the stray was unnecessary, but like, I kind of like that, the fact that it's like completely like jumbled, and like I'm like the Joker when it comes to being a reader or a consumer of any media. Like, if I can't see what's coming, then I like it, usually speaking, as long as it pays off and the plot threads converge at the end and it's satisfying. But yeah, okay. Well, I guess we'll see where that lands.
Yeah, I think there are a lot of different structures you can do. Brandon Sanderson does something similar in the Stormlight Archives.
Yeah,
where,
big time.
We'll switch between the main characters, and then we'll have the interludes where we get like these honestly really important characters that you read through their stuff and pay attention to their scenes throughout. But they don't feel like as important characters, but it does feel like we're kind of checking in on different parts of the world. So yeah, that can be really
Cool. And then this section is kind of meant to pay off that lingering question of, I think Tyler, you had brought it up, like the aftermath of that battle. I'm hoping that, being away now from the village and from the core action of Nin and what's going on with him, that I won't have the inverse problem now that I've gone back to, it kind of explained what happened in the aftermath of that battle. Like, it doesn't feel like we're away from the core character for too long. This is a standard length chapter. It's about 2,500 words or so.
I don't think we're away from him too long.
No.
One thing I will say, like having this be an explanation of the battle, I think it does a good job. I think just one thing needs to be a little bit clear, because I'm assuming that the only reason that Nihilus was put out of commission is because he ran out of blood power.
Yeah.
And maybe that could just be made. It's pretty clear, but make it a little bit clear. And also, like, why did he let that happen?
That's a good point.
You know what I mean? Like, if
I think that would up the threat level too. If he got knocked out, not because it was legitimately a knockout on the part of Gil with that grenade and the barrier combo, but because he got overconfident or something, or ran out of blood power. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know I've planned out everything. Yeah.
Oh, for sure. All of us do, of course.
Yeah, clearly.
Cool. Yeah, thank you. This is invaluable feedback, because I just don't know how some of this stuff hits until somebody reads it. So thank you so much, guys. Greatly appreciated. I think that's all my questions, Your Honor. And then there was one.
There's one.
Cue future JC.
Hey everybody, future JC here. A little bit of context. This is back into the world of Lost Souls. Getting toward what is considered the main story. Sarah is leaving her hometown, going to the capital on an airship, and all of the fun and games that come along with that. It's a little bit more into the magic system, how magic works, and a hopefully exciting encounter that doesn't feel completely random and out of place. That's pretty much all you need for this week. Have a good one.
Okay.
Whose turn is it to go first this time?
I don't remember.
Who hasn't
I think
gone
it's mine.
first?
I think I haven't gone first yet.
Yeah.
If I remember the last hour and a half. Yeah, really good. You're doing a little bit more of what we want, at least what I wanted with the airship, having a little bit more of an adventure going on, which I really like. I like that we're starting off like she's leaving her house presumably for the first time in a couple days since she started seeing ghosts, and she sees a ghost immediately, which like you talked about with this town, like people are always dying, so it's realistic that she's seeing a ghost. A lot of information about the magic system, done very well, so I appreciated that. Was that a sigh of relief?
That is a sigh of relief.
Yeah. The only thing I would say for that, like, he gives her the book, and I know last time we were talking about like the gifts that he gave her, or they exchanged. Maybe this could be the gift. I don't know, and then she could have a little bit of time preparing for this journey, reading that might have been okay. Although it's really cool learning about, like, they kind of have familiar, like the mages kind of have familiars as well, and it was cool learning about that. And it's interesting seeing how it's also hinted that like you might be like an ether mage like she is, but you might also have like a bit of wind in there too, or something else, and that's pretty cool. The wyvern attack didn't quite land for me, mostly because I think if like she's not super active right now, like she's not being a very proactive attacks, which is fine for the part of the story we're in. We're at the beginning of the story. She's still a little kid. She's got lots of people taking care of her, and that's great. What I do think you need to do to make up for that a little bit is a lot of internal reactions. She just saw a couple of people get straight up slashed to death by this wyvern, and I don't know if she's ever seen somebody die before, and I want to know how she reacts. Like, obviously she like passes out because of her magic, but I want to know like her emotional reaction to seeing
Right.
that. I also want a description of what it looks like when their souls leave their body. Like I was like, is it like they're getting slapped out of their body? Is it they get knocked down and then the spirits rise up, or what does that look like? Because that could be a really cool bit of imagery. Yeah, I don't think I have too much else to say. I'm interested in the elven magic system, since there's sounds like it's a little bit different. Lots of other comments about things that could be tweaked a little bit, but on the whole, really solid section. I just need a little bit more of her, and you're always saying the same thing to me too. Like we need a little bit more of the emotional background. So I think that's something you and I can do better. I'm going to call it right now. Live on air, not live.
Recorded.
Prince Samuel is either going to be her arch rival or a future love interest, or both.
Oh,
Not possible to be in love with your rival. What?
never been done before.
And now JC's going to change his story so he does something exactly different.
Yeah.
I actually have him plan. I already have that particular arc of the relationships planned out.
Kim, would you like to go next?
Sure, I go. I also agree this was a very solid chapter. I felt like it was kind of the welcome to the wider world chapter, kind of like the Diagon Alley chapter in Harry Potter or something, where we get to learn more about how things work. I really liked learning more about the magic system. And one thing I also really liked about this chapter is that in most of these chapters, you have this guide that they just sort of like trust, but this one, he seemed a little suspicious. And I loved that it was like, ooh, can we trust this guide? Like, I don't know that we can, but like, it's so subtle that it was just like, I actually don't know. Like I could see it going either way. So I thought that added like a really interesting element to that trope. And then just going through it, I think at the beginning, I thought there might have been an opportunity when the Lord Overseer and the Archmage are talking. They're just saying, oh, it's always your visit was enlightening, and as always, your hospitality are unmatched. I just wondered if you could have just some kind of action beat or subtext just to kind of understand what their relationship is and if there's any tension between them, because I got the sense there might be, but I would have loved to just dig into that a little bit more. Let's see, those are pretty small details. I struggled imagining, this is so small, but I struggled imagining the ship with 4 large magic circles. Like I was like, are these like Quidditch circles? Like I just couldn't quite picture how it was like coming together.
Gotcha.
So I would have loved just like a little more there. And then I agree. I felt like there were a couple times I marked them where I was just curious how she was feeling. Like when the Archmage, let's see, where is it? She's talking about seeing the birds and he's just like, oh, interesting. And then he just kind of goes on. I'm like, oh, is she like annoyed? Is she miffed that he's like just completely dodging her question? Or just, I wanted to know a little bit more there. When she meets the captain, she said, doing my best not to let my enthusiasm show. And I wasn't sure what the enthusiasm was for. Like, is it because he's a long-term ally? Is it because she likes him? Is it because, like, I just wasn't sure what that was all about. So one little thing, I was just really curious to know more about the Archmage's powers. I'm really excited to see more about just everybody's really. I feel like this just was such a good entry into learning these things and being more curious about that. Let's see. I also agree that the wyvern attack, I think you could have drawn it out just a little bit more. I feel like it also felt just maybe a little bit random. Like it was like, we're having a wyvern attack. And it was sort of like, how is this? Like, I would have loved to just a better understanding of how this is fitting into her character arc and like how, or the story, just So it didn't feel like, yay, we're having a wyvern attack. And it's cool. I like the wyvern attack. Don't take it out. Just, I think you could have a little bit more there.
Yeah. Okay.
And then, yeah, like I said, I just loved all these little things that you planted that I suspect are going to be important later on. And I'm really excited. And yeah, well done.
Thank you.
Okay, cool. JC, this was a terrible section and I hated everything about it. That's pretty much all I got for you today. This was very good. I will give you probably my one critique up front so that I can focus on all the good juicy stuff. Let's see. So yeah, I agree with Kim. Towards the opening of this chapter, you have this exchange of pleasantries between the Archmage and Lord Overseer Horatio. It's like, oh, thank you for the hospitality. No, thank you. Well, you were great. You've been more great, sir. And I don't know, without subtext, it just seemed like they're talking about the weather and it felt a little lifeless. And so you could either inject subtext into that, maybe there's some sort of unspoken political rivalry or some other secret between them, or you could cut it all together to leave more room for the juicy stuff. You'll note how often I'm saying juicy during this critique. Yeah, that's just one small thing. And then to get into, I guess I could throw in one other critique if it makes you happy. You could describe the airship maybe a little bit more. I was kind of curious. I didn't have trouble picturing the magic circles, but now that Kim mentions it, I'm like, I guess you could also describe that a little bit more precisely to give us a picture. I kind of almost picture like the shield helicarrier and how it has like the 4 engines. Picture something like that are causing it to be propelled into the air. I don't know if that's on the underside or not. But I found it very intriguing. I know that I encouraged you last week to just rip off Kim's chapter on the airship description because it was so good with Rowan. And you said no, that was dishonest, and she would surely catch you, and that was the reason you weren't going to do it. So you were going to have some other elaborate means of keeping this boat afloat. And your solution to that, these 4 mages, presumably, are they tied to the 4 wind circles?
Yeah.
Is that why they're there?
Yep.
Okay, I love that. You could even mention that more precisely if you want to. You don't necessarily have to. I don't know if they have to have line of sight on these things, and that's why they have to be on deck during the wyvern attack. That could increase the stakes as to why they need to be protected. If the wyvern's able to get at one of them, he could potentially jeopardize the integrity of the ship and the flight systems. If you want. I don't think any of that's necessary, but I've just found the whole thing interesting as to how it's propelled. I like the presence of the ghost and the spirits on board the vessel. That felt super interesting to me. The fact that your main character might also be a wind mage and might possibly be able to break wind in addition to sensing spirits was super cool. Let's see. And the fact that the Archmage, you imply, used the word sinister at one point, that's interesting to me. I think it could be helpful if you employ some sort of maybe some sort of tick, some sort of visual indicator as to why she's getting this feeling that maybe he's not entirely trustworthy, or you could even just spell it out like she had a feeling, she couldn't put her finger on it exactly. Either way, I love the fact that he isn't necessarily straightforward. He does seem to have some secrets, some darkness to him. Makes him more interesting in my view. Yeah. Let's see. And then I like your little description of the cabins on board. That felt cozy to me. And despite being an epic fantasy writer, I do value my cozy. So that was great. When the Archmage mentions that the tome that he entrusts her with, or this textbook, is normally only entrusted to 3rd years, like I perked up. I'm like, oh, forbidden knowledge. You have piqued my interest, sir. So that was interesting. Let's see. I'm not sure if flavor works for me for a description of the type of magic. It's not necessarily bad. I don't know. You could always play around with different synonyms for that word. Pardon me. I love your description of the wyvern, sir. Let me see if I can find that.
Tastes like chicken.
Yeah, the chicken.
Yeah, it's how she thinks it looks like a chicken just for a split second until she actually lays eyes on it. And then you have an excuse to kind of go line by line and describe just how horrifying it looks. That was awesome. Yeah, I agree with these guys. You could potentially put us more in her shoes by giving her something to think or something to do. She could ask questions of her elven attendants. Since she's so analytical, I imagine she would want to know what's going on, even if it's not beat per beat coverage of the fight. But that's one trick you could employ. She could be asking questions even as she's trying to sidestep whatever this wyvern is throwing at them. This chapter was I really thoroughly enjoyed it. I feel like you found your footing with this narrative now. I mean, I know it's not going to be perfect going forward. It's a first draft, but I think that you really dialed into the tone that seems to work. And yeah, good job.
Awesome. Now, you guys answered most of the questions I had about it. Because I wasn't certain, I really legitimately wasn't certain on some of the things, how much detail to put in, of the airship and how it works. Essentially, there are magic circles etched into the side, drawings of the spell, and the wind mages that are on board have to be in contact with the ship to activate those circles. As long as they're in contact with the ship, the circles stay activated and it can fly. So I wasn't certain how, I didn't want to get super technical with it, but knowing that it wasn't as clear is helpful. Yeah.
And you can always cut detail. Having too much detail is very rarely a problem because it's something that's easy to fix.
Yeah. And that's a good point. No, I don't really have any questions. You guys kind of got what I needed covered. It'll be interesting to see what you think of the next chapter.
Can't wait.
Thinking about those drawings on the ship. Have you guys been watching the Witch Hat Atelier?
Oh, I haven't yet.
No,
I haven't yet.
That's an anime, Kim.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
it has an ink-based magic system.
What?
And it's also very much drawing-based, so kind of applicable to both yours and both of yours.
What was it called? I couldn't quite hear.
Witch Hat Atelier. Atelier. Which I think is a fancy word for village or outpost or something like that. It's really good. It's really, really good.
You're very quiet right now, Tyler.
It's really good.
Okay.
Cool.
All right. Good recommendation from Tyler Quincy Hess.
Quincy Hess. We do have a question that we want to discuss. And I don't remember what it is, which is why we had Gray write it down.
Yes.
I'll go ahead and read that.
Thank you.
So we can hear. All right. How do you write balanced characters? This is kind of a broad question compared to last week, if you recall how we, what steps we take to write characters who we don't necessarily agree with or who drive us crazy or who are just straight evil. We found out that JC is evil. But the question this week, how do you write?
Gray was evil last week and didn't believe in the good of humanity.
That is we could do a whole episode on that. That'd be so interesting. How do you write balanced characters? Elder Statesman, do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, sure.
Senior Statesman.
Elder Statesman. I'm old. Yes, I get it. So for me, and this might sound funny considering some of the critiques I've gotten, but you have to look at the good that your character needs to do with the power that they have, and figure out a way to make it difficult for them to do the good. based off of their powers. And some people probably don't like how I've handled this, but I always go back to my books because I don't have to worry about copyright issues. Ace, my main character in Hero Unit, she is a Superman analog, essentially, but she has severe PTSD because of her time serving in the military. And when you are as powerful as she is, you get used to do things that most of us would view as horrible. And those things have stuck with her. And a lot of what I do is she has PTSD flashbacks and she has nightmares where she relives some of these scenes. And so that's the how I explain why she works the way she does, because as I've mentioned, she could do whatever she wants very easily because of how powerful she is. But she has an innate belief in the rule of law. And if the law says you're not allowed to do this, even though she can, she doesn't because it's the law. And I balance her power. For me, that's how I balance someone that powerful. In my Telvanna Mysteries, my main character is immortal. She's lived for 15,000 years. And that comes, her experience brings a lot of hubris to the table. She's quite literally been there, done that. And in book 2, that hubris comes back to bite her in the death of a character that she's starting to develop a good friendship with. And that character ends up dying because of Aurora's arrogance, essentially. And so when you're writing your characters, their flaws have to be believable. And like I said, the flaws for mine often come from the power that they have, based off of what they've done with the power that they have, or what they've learned from the power that they have. And that might be why I struggle so much with Jessica, because she's not quite as powerful as the other ones. So it's a little bit harder to give her that kind of flaw. So
she has different flaws. She has like an uncontrollable anger, which is tied to her powers.
Yeah. And that was that. Yeah, and that was one of the things that writing and having you guys giving me feedback on Technomancer really helped me understand, is that was what I needed to play up more with her, to give her that flaw, to give her that moment of weakness where her ability to act is hindered. Any other thoughts?
Any thoughts from the rest of the peanut gallery? Or?
No,
we got all of those pearls of wisdom.
Good night, folks.
Passing the torch to you guys. That's what that was.
All right, make sure you don't take the torch from JC. You might just get burned. So the question, how do you write balanced characters? I think you might most easily answer this question by flipping it around and asking yourself, how do you write unbalanced characters that are not believable? I'll just give kind of a generic pop culture example and continue this trend of superheroes that JC started with. So nobody likes Captain Marvel. This is fact, unless you are a Disney executive, in which case you have not yet admitted this truth. The reason why we have rejected this character is because she lacks flaws, like JC pointed out. She's perfect. She hasn't really had to earn her power. She doesn't have weaknesses, and she doesn't have emotional scars or failings, weaknesses, or physical, right? So it's just terrible. And you compare that to, let's say, another Marvel character who's extremely multi-layered, Daredevil. And he's, oh my gosh, he's a defense attorney. He's blind. He's a Catholic. He's the son of a boxer, and he's a New Yorker. Like, there's like 16 different layers to this guy. And all of these different layers all involve a strength and a weakness. Obviously, the fact that he's blind, but his other senses have only gotten sharper, right? The fact that he is the son of a boxer, so he kind of knows how to fight a little bit from that, and he has the stubbornness of a boxer, but it's only because he witnessed his dad die as a result of a fixed fight. So he also has a this intense interest to fight crime. The fact that he's Catholic means that he's unwilling to kill, right? So another character like the Punisher will be willing to, put a bullet through someone's head to solve the problem in an ultimate sense, whereas he is not. So that could be a strength or a weakness. Yeah, so it's I think that's like the ultimate example that I can think of in my own writing. I've tried to achieve this with Nin and Stills, where you have this character that's highly skilled and competent in his own particular corner of the world, and as soon as he's put outside of that corner of the world and the system fails, he doesn't know how to survive in the wilderness, right? And because he has a new personality downloaded into him that didn't fully download, let's say. He's also at a disadvantage, right? He's supposed to be extremely competent. He's supposed to be able to follow through this mission, but he doesn't have all the details of that particular mission. So his ruthlessness and his skills that he would employ in the city are going to do him very little good in his current situation. Yeah, so I think just balancing weaknesses and strengths is a good way to achieve that in general. What do you think, Kim?
Yeah, I agree. My kids were watching Frozen today, and I was thinking about Elsa as a character. And Disney originally had her be kind of the villain, and they weren't like sisters. And so I feel like it was just such an opportunity to have a more nuanced character and making her a sister and having her have these just really more nuanced motivations for things. And I feel like you guys already covered everything I was thinking about saying, but
Sorry.
But I do think you need to have flaws. And I think it's really helpful when other characters see them differently. So you get kind of a 3D picture of the character and not just like, this is this person and they're always that way. Because they might be consistent in their motivation, but maybe they aren't always in action. Maybe they act a little different around other people. So I think that you can play with that a little bit. And I think it's also helpful to make sure that every trait has a cost. So like the strengths shouldn't just be like free or just being able to just, oh, yeah, I'm good at this. Like there should be a cost to those strengths and be able to give it kind of a character growth moment for those things. So yeah, those are my thoughts. Tyler, what do you think?
Yeah, I think strength and weaknesses, that's a really good place to start. You obviously don't want to have your character be invulnerable. I'm just kidding. But I don't think that's the whole picture when it comes to writing a balanced character. And we might even replace that and just say like a believable character. It's not just having strengths and weaknesses. It's not just having flaws. It's having maybe philosophies that make things harder for you. It could be you just have a way of thinking about the world that doesn't always match up with how other people think of the world or how the world actually is. And so that doesn't always work out for you. And also making sure that as your character changes, and we've talked about this before, like you have dynamic characters who should be, your main character should be fairly dynamic for the most part. As they're changing, their changes should feel internally motivated, even as they might be externally motivated as well. Like there should be changes of philosophy. There should be changes of how they view the world. In my first book, Hounds of Brecken, I'm really trying to explore this theme of whether or not the ends justify the means. Starnes being on one side of that, Bradley being on one side of that, Warren hasn't figured out, and maybe even isn't really thinking about it too much at this point. But as the series progresses, I want the reader to be thinking about that and thinking about why the characters are acting how they act, and why the consequences of their actions come. I mean, Starnes lost last book because he wasn't willing to just do really dark things.
Yeah.
He could have won.
Yeah.
He is smart enough. He is powerful. Maybe isn't quite the right word, but he's devious enough to do it. Like, yeah, I'm not going to say that Starnes isn't devious in his own way. And then as well with consequences, like we were talking about AJ today, like he is got some guilt and he's made mistakes and he's suffering those mistakes. And I know that there are formulas where you can have like sliders of competency and how likable a character is and stuff like that. You can play with the sliders to come up with a character. And that's fine as a starting point, but you want to make sure that their growth as they develop flaws, as they develop strengths, feels really again internally motivated. One of the first lessons I like to give in my creative writing classes is the types of conflict. And I kind of break it down. Like you have the two main ones, internal, external conflict, and you can kind of leave it there. With internal conflict, that man versus self type of conflict, which I think is the most interesting because it's the character getting in their own way and slowly getting out of their way or getting more into their own way as they have a positive change arc or a negative change arc where they get better. And I feel like I am rambling, but my point is character should change. It should feel natural. It should feel motivated not just by what happens in the plot, but by how they react to the things that happen in the plot.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, I think we've had the chance to go around the table, and I think we could probably talk about this question for an hour. JC has his pondering face on. That's always dangerous.
Well, I was thinking about what Tyler mentioned about philosophy and motivation, and you kind of touched on this with Daredevil versus Frank Castle, the Punisher, and you have Batman, who, as his most of his incarnations, Batman will not kill. And that's a motivation that he has. He will not kill. Won't do it. Even if, in all reality, Gotham City would be better off if he would. But he has this motivation. He has this philosophy. And it does kind of come back to bite him in some of the series. I haven't read a lot of the modern stuff, but I do know that is a consistent theme and a consistent idea. And you can look at other characters. Like a lot of people are really terrible at writing Superman because they don't know how to work with a character that powerful. But one example of a fairly good take was actually, and this is going to sound ridiculous, but hear me out. It was Batman and Superman versus Aliens and Predator.
I thought you were going to say Batman v Superman. I was going to put you even harder.
No.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's a graphic novel, and it is literally what would happen if Batman and Superman had to deal with the aliens and the predators.
Okay.
Now, we for those that aren't familiar with the aliens and the xenomorphs and the predators, we look at these things, and they are very dangerous. They're capable of all kinds of horrific things. Superman is still more powerful than all of them. And so even though he knew how dangerous the aliens were, he refused to go to the point of destroying them. Because in his mind, they're just acting on instinct. They're not good. They're not evil. They're just animals, and they're trying to propagate their species in the only way they can. And for his view, it was his responsibility to protect humanity and the xenomorphs. And it was an interesting take. Like, the comic was okay as a whole, but this idea that, in every alien movie, the goal is kill the alien.
Agree.
But when you add in, I can't be hurt by the alien. It can't bite me. It can't burn me. It can't do all of the bad things that it does to people. You give a different approach to it because Superman has those levels of power. And even Batman was like, are you sure about this? Shouldn't we just, trap them in this ship and blow it up so they don't have to be a threat?
Yes,
and this is Batman.
Yes.
This is Batman we're talking about. Batman doesn't have superpowers other than wealth.
Good looks.
And so, and good looks, I guess. And so it was an interesting take, and that philosophy almost got flipped on its head of Batman being willing to take a life because he didn't necessarily view it as a human, and Superman saying no, they deserve to be protected just because they're basically animals. So when you are writing your characters, like Tyler said, the internal conflicts are the more interesting conflicts, generally speaking. And what happens when your character's philosophy truly gets tested? Are they going to change? Are they going to adapt? Are they going to stick with it? Are they going to, how are they going to handle a challenge to their innermost beliefs, their core beliefs? And how you handle that is going to inform a lot of what your readers enjoy or don't like about your story.
Yeah. Any other thoughts?
Hear, hear. Hear, hear.
All right. I think that was an excellent discussion. Well, as Tyler would say, dear viewer / listener or reader, if you're looking at the transcript, however you consume us, sounds strange. This has been another episode of Third Person POV. JC was about to take a long swig of his drink. I almost timed that perfectly.
We almost got a spit take.
Thank you so much for listening and bearing with us. We hope that you've enjoyed this, and have a good night.